Okay, today I'm going to go over a couple methods for finding out how and when SQL started up. Um, it's one question that a lot of people always have is, how do I know the last time SQL started up? And there are actually a couple methods you can use. The most common one is to come here in the log, in the error log, and just in case some of you don't know where that is, it's over here. You click on the server, and then you go to management, and then you go to error logs, and you can go to the current log or any of the logs before that. So come here to the error log, and you see a whole bunch of startup information in here. You see Microsoft identifying itself, and the first really notable entry here is the server process ID. Now, I'm using Katmai, and the message is just a little bit different, but it's not different enough that you won't be able to notice it in earlier versions of SQL, because the boot process for SQL is basically the same. But anyway, we have the server process ID here, and what this is this is the actual Windows process ID that SQL is currently running under. And you can verify that if you come here to Task Manager and go to Processes, and there it is. You see SQL Server is 2512, and right there it says that SQL is 2512. And you can also see it here under the services. Now this is Vista, so if you're on XP, you won't have as much fun as I will. I'm gonna go here. Sort by that instead. And 2512 SQL Server right there. Okay, so we've established that this is the server process ID, and that's information that can come in handy if you're ever running through perfmon logs or anything and you need to know what ID SQL is running under. That's a quick way to check. So then you can look up here, and you can go through here and you can see the different things that SQL is doing. And the only thing that we're really interested in, you start to get a little bit closer when you start. I went past it. You start getting a little bit closer. Here we go. When you start seeing it start up databases, you see it starting up database model and starting up MSDB, starting up distribution, clearing the temp DB, and then you finally see that SQL Server is listening on IPv4 1433, and then you see here that it starts up the pipe connections, because the server is actually set up for IP and pipes. And then you see it starting up the broker manager. It starts up tempdb over here, and then finally you get right up here to recovery is complete. And this is the line you're actually looking for, that one and this one both. But recovery is complete. That is exactly what you're looking for, and it says down here SPID 7S, and S actually stands for server. That means it's a server level SPID. It's a server process. So you can see here that this SQL installation started up at 6:56, and that's the usual way most people do it. I find that a little cumbersome, especially if I've got a big server and a big log and I've got to pick through all this stuff, and I've got a few dozen databases, or on some of the servers I've been on, you have a few hundred databases and you've got to look for them all to start up. That's kind of a pain. There's a much easier way to do this. And if you were to do something like this, go into that server into master and say select star from sys.sys processes. Let's do an order by SPID. So you see here SPID number 1. This is actually going to be, and you've got a login time, and every SPID has a login time, right? But you got here 6:56, and if you notice, you got 6:56 here. So this is 6:56:21, and the one right here is 6:56:21. Although, the difference between, 15 and 21, I mean, you're talking 6 milliseconds, so it's not really that big of a deal, right? But if you have to correlate it with anything, then correlate it with this one right here. But recovery is complete. It's actually listening for connections at this point, and the very next thing it does is it goes ahead and it logs itself into here. So you can come here and you can order by SPID, and you can get the login time, or since this is the first one, this is clearly the first one, you can say min login time. I don't think it's going to let me do the order by. And you get the same thing right here, 656.21. So that's the easier way to do it. So again, you've got two ways. You can go through the log and you can look for the recovery complete, which you can tell right here. See, I recovered these databases right here. These are my user databases right here, both of these guys right here. But if I had several hundred databases on here, I mean, you know, you could have several hundred, you could have not several hundred, but you could have several pages of log, definitely several hundred lines of recovery before the server actually posts that it's active and listening for connections. So I found that to be a bit of a pain. I prefer this, plus I can code it. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to show you real quick. Along with finding out what the server process is right here, you can see what the last reported process is, and this is pretty interesting too. So you can tell how long SQL was down. So you can see the last process ID was 2464 at 422.653. So you know, you can tell all kinds of things from the log. It's good stuff. And having the last process ID is very useful sometimes, especially when you're going through previous perfmon logs, and you can correlate them with your SQL logs if you need to, if you're not getting that process level info in perfmon, or if you've got two instances and you want to know which one it is, all kinds of things. But anyway, that's how you tell when SQL started last.